Cashiers of Reddit. What was the worst time you blew up on a customer? I was working at a coffee shop in a busy downtown area. There was a businessman that was notorious for being abusive with our staff. One morning he came in and ordered a coffee and a cranberry scone. We happened to be out of cranberry scones that day, and when I informed him of this he flew off the handle and started swearing at me. I looked him square in the eye and said, "You're a grown man throwing a temper tantrum over a cranberry scone. Sort your life out." I then calmly turned to the next customer. The next day he apologized and was never a problem again. Some people just need a reality check. At a pawn shop, the lady paid me with a $20 and I gave her change. She flipped up because she knew she'd given me a $100 bill. She screamed, cursed, and called me every name in the book. Just lost her mind. The whole time, she's saying she knew she paid with a $100 bill but she'd just put one in her wallet earlier. I asked her repeatedly to just check her wallet then to see if the $100 bill was still there or not. She just kept yelling she didn't need to check because she knew she'd given it to me. Eventually she checked and all the anger just blew out of her. She was mortified. The $100 bill was there. B. This woman who used to come into the coffee shop I managed was the real world equivalent of Dolores Umbridge. She was smug, obnoxious and delighted in being a giant pain in the butt. She came in daily and had a ridiculously complicated drink order which she was unnecessarily nitpicky about. She came in one day when our grinder was having issues, which I warned her about. I happened to be on register and not on bar, and so my employee, who was my best employee at the time, made the drink. She took it and left. The next day she came in and before she even hit the register she announced very rudely in my general direction, "You're making my drink, right?" I switched places with the person on bar in order to make it, as her drink was so wildly complicated. It took several minutes to make, throughout which I was told how terrible her drink had been yesterday, how it had ruined her day, how she'd lost faith in the company, etc. I apologized profusely and offered to comp her drink. That was not good enough. She told me she wanted the person who had made her drink before fired. I lost my temper. I more or less told her that I was sorry that her drink was not up to par the day before, but that I had apologized, offered a free beverage and had actually warned her we were having an equipment issue the day before, which was the likely culprit and not my employee. She told me I must have woken up on the wrong side of the bed and I said no, actually you are a giant pain in the butt. Your order is obnoxious and we bend over backwards to accommodate you daily. She had a whole list of things aside from the crazy drink. It had to be served with a certain number of napkins. Her sleeve had coffee. Umbridge tutted her way out of my shop in a huff and I didn't even care if I got in trouble for telling her off. I didn't. Had a customer come in to do a return on a toilet seat. Not to me but the customer service person. She tells him store policy is we don't do returns on seats out of the plastic. He starts telling her he just took it out to check it and it's not the right shape. She repeats store policy and there's no manager here to override it. It's literally impossible for us to return it. He doesn't like this and starts raising his voice and trying to bully her. She's super shy and quiet so she kinda just shut down. The other cashier says very loud it's dirty. He didn't just take it out. He's a liar. He became incredibly angry. I reached over, hit her light and said, "You're on break. Go upstairs." She protested but I repeated and she left. He said, "What did the bee say?" I replied, "Don't worry about it. I'll handle it later. We aren't doing your return." He starts to protest again but I cut him off. "I don't care. I don't care what you did or what you have to say. We aren't doing your return today. You've got two options. Take your toilet seat home and come back tomorrow and talk to a manager, or take your seat and get out of here. Either way you're leaving here with freaking seat." He left. Managers became required to be there on weekends, and someone bought me some M&Ms. And someone bought me some M&Ms. Nice ending to the story. You did a good job. I work at Disney World. One time I had a particularly rude guest, and the end I told them to have a great day, not a magical day. Whoa, that's pretty hardcore. This wasn't me, but I was involved. When I was in high school I worked at a shoe store, the one with that freaking prize wheel from heck. We did this buy one get one half off sale all the time. The way it works is you buy a more expensive pair and you get the cheaper of the two half off. Otherwise we'd lose money. So this woman comes in and buys 2 pair of kids shoes, looks at the receipt and thinks that $50 is too much for her smaller child. So she returns them. She then proceeds to flip out because the difference for the other pair came out of the refund. I called the manager and he came up and she says he's a foster kid. He's not worth a $50 pair of shoes. Stop trying to rob me and give me my freaking money. So manager refunded her the entire bill and took both pair of shoes and walked off. We all gave her the silent treatment until she left. Angrily, I feel bad for both children and her husband who were just standing there quietly. He's a foster kid. He's not worth a $50 pair of shoes. Stop trying to rob me and give me my freaking money. And this is when you call CPS and notify them of that. Or at least threaten to right in front of her. Back when I worked admissions for a popular tourist attraction in Hollywood, guest hands me a coupon. $8 off per ticket. ME. Your total is $44. Guest, you forgot to include the coupon. ME. I included the coupon. Ticket is $30. I point to the sign next to me. So for the two of you that's 60. Minus 8 and minus 8 again is $44. Guest, did you include the coupon? ME. I included the coupon. $30 per ticket. 2 tickets is $60. Minus $8 and minus $8 is $44. Guest, 16. ME. Right. I took 16 off. Guest, no. Ticket price is $16. ME. No. It's $22 with the coupon. Guest, how much is the regular ticket price? ME. $30. Guest, coupon is for how much? ME. $8 off. Guest, right. So that brings the price down to 16. ME. No it doesn't. Guest, $30 minus $8. Right? ME. Yes. Guest, 16. ME. Number, $22. Guest, forget it. What's my total? ME. $44. Guest, did you include the coupon this time? ME. Yes. Guest, how does it come to $44? ME. Ticket price is $30. You gave me a coupon for $8 off, which brings the price down to 20. Guest, 16. ME. 22. There are 2 of you. 2 tickets comes to $44. Guest, did you include the coupon? ME. Yes. Guest, how much is the ticket? ME. $30. Guest, what about the coupon? ME. Coupon brings it down to $22. Guest, not $16? ME. Not $16. Guest, why not $16? ME. Because that's not what math is. At that point I genuinely would have pulled out a piece of paper and drawn 30 little lines and crossed out 8 and asked him to count. SMH. I was a server years ago and this woman, usually a pretty nice lady, comes in and apparently we had messed up her salmon a few days prior, so the manager had given her a free meal card which is good for one single meal. Well, a few days later she comes in with at least 15 people about an hour before we closed and they all order seafood and steak and wine and her whole party is awful to me and my friend who is another server. One guest even threw his plate on the ground, breaking it and throwing food all over because his steak was overcooked. After all of this, the other server went to take the woman her check and it was a couple $100 and she whips out the free meal card. The server takes it to the register, comps one of the meals off and comes back with the new total and the woman loses it. I have a free meal card. This was one meal for all of us. It should be free and the server just stiffens up and politely explains that that isn't how it works and stresses that she had to have known that she couldn't have brought 15 people in here and expected free meals for everyone. The woman stands up and pours her red wine all over my friend and my friend just goes what the frick and runs to the back to get the manager. She kept her calm honestly, but the manager flipped and told her to get the heck out and never come back. That was a crazy night. I would have fricking choked that lady out if she poured wine on me. The day I quit my job last year, I knew in the morning I was quitting that day, and in the morning one of the bitchiest customers came in complaining about a product not working. Yet again, this was just a regular occurrence that happened with this particular customer. After about half an hour I just told her to go and frick herself and I couldn't be asked listening to her anymore. I then proceeded to call my boss and tell him I quit. Can't wait for that to happen to me. I had a guy come through my register once wanting to put some stuff on his store credit card. He didn't have the card or any ID, so I couldn't ring him through. Technically I could, but against SOP. He started screaming at me saying that everyone knew him there and that he was a regular. I was at my job for over a year and never saw that man once in my time working there before this incident. I told him no, I couldn't ring him through without the card or it, but I could hold his stuff at register until he comes back. He proceeded to get more belligerent and in my face, so I told him in an assertive tone, "You need to leave. You can't be yelling at staff." He leaves, then comes back an hour later to buy his stuff but still no ID or card. I proceed to tell him I can't ring him in again, so he starts screaming bloody murder, wanting the ASM to come. Stupid ASM has no spine and tells me to ring the guy through, then goes back to the floor or wherever he was before. As soon as the ASM left, I told the customer to leave and that he wasn't welcome at the store anymore. Never saw him again after that. When I worked at Subway in high school, there was this guy in his 30s that came in with his wife almost every day. He was a dong and talked to you like an idiot. Not because he was in a bad mood either, because he thought it was funny to be an butt to kids working fast food jobs. One day I had enough and took his sandwich I was in the middle of making and spiked it into the garbage can and told him to frick off. He told me I couldn't talk to customers that way and I told him I just did, you retard. He called the owner and dropped my name. We had name tags, and she told him that if I blew up on him like that it was probably deserved and asked him to not return. I for sure thought I was fired. Lucky for me, the owner knew exactly what customer she was talking to and knew me good enough to know it takes a lot to get me irritated and that I wouldn't do something like that for no reason. "That's awesome," the owner responded. "More employers should stand up for their employees like that." I worked at a sandwich place for a year or so and had multiple bad experiences with customers, but this one takes the cake. I was making this dude a hot chicken sandwich. I bring the sandwich up to the front and try to hand it to him. He just looks at me for a second, then proceeds to scream and swear at me for spitting in his sandwich. I didn't spit in his food, kinda wish I did though, and told him this over and over. The dude was yelling at me for probably 5 minutes. I was patient with him and gave him a new sandwich made by a different employee and totally refunded his order. But this dude decided that he wanted to be a dong, so he hung around the store telling customers I was going to spit in their food and swearing a ton. I waited for my manager to step forward and kick the guy out, but he was just pretending nothing was going on. Finally, as I was making food for this family with really young kids, who were obviously uncomfortable with this dude's language, I freaking lost it. I slammed down the knife I was using, startling everyone because I had been so respectful to this guy for so long, and screamed, "We are a family friendly establishment, so you can quit being an butthole and get the heck out of this store." For whatever reason that worked and he left cussing me out. I apologized to the family for the guy and for my swearing at him. I very nearly lost my job from that and got a long lecture from my boss about how the customer is always right and that I need to be respectful. Luckily my manager vouched for me, saying that I was extremely respectful until the guy started making other customers uncomfortable. I quit that job a few months later, glad to be done with dumbass customers. I carded a woman trying to buy cigarettes who got really bitchy when I didn't just give it to her. It was in her car, so she left and came right back. When I held my hand out for it, she tried to fling it at my face and missed. It fell on the floor behind the counter and I refused to pick it up. I called for next customer and started ignoring her. When she asked for it back, I gave her permission to come around the counter to get it. It was petty, but in the moment I wasn't gonna budge. She called the cops and said I stole it. When they came, I explained what happened. He gave her a really annoyed look and she yells, "Make him give it to me," then looks back to me. He literally ordered me to pick it up. I'd honestly rather lose my job, but I was afraid of what would happen if I refused an officer. So I picked it up and gave it to her. She got the satisfaction of winning and got to leave with a big smug look on her face. Afterwards the officer apologized and said he was basically afraid of upsetting her. I was dangerously close to calling him a P. Should have flung it back like she did. I don't know how fast food places find workers. People are so rude to them. It blows my mind. It's almost like some people go to fast food places with the mindset that they are going to be buttholes. Oftentimes they can't find workers, or they burn through them really quickly. The ones left are just the ones broken. desperate, or masochistic enough to stay. Source: cashier at a fast food place. I honestly don't remember this, but my co-workers do, and apparently was a customer yelled at me, "Go to heck," and I yelled back, "I'll see you there my sis," and I say this to each other a lot, for funsies. And it's the only reason I believe I may have said this, but one I did remember was a customer brought up a sandwich that apparently looked awful to her. She held it out to me and said, "Would you eat this?" and without missing a beat I said, "Yes." That shocked her into silence for a good few seconds. I was being honest, the sandwich looked fine to me. LOL. Siblings and friends are great practice for when you really have to get into it with someone. I work on customer services in a retail shop and have to do a lot of refunds. It's the store policy that we don't refund anything unless the customer has a receipt, so I have to deal with a lot of angry customers. If they really pee me off, when they walk off I do a tannoy reading out the policy so they hear it as they leave the shop. Oh my god, that's so petty and I love it. I never blew up on a customer that I remember, but one time I showed up to my crap job at Dollarama in the morning. In the evenings the staff is supposed to put away all the misplaced product back on the shelves. Facing I think it was called. We would organize it by aisle, then take each basket and put everything away. Standard stuff. Anyway, I show up in the morning and it's only me and my boss. Entitled and disrespectful. There were supposed to be 5 of us for the shift, but we had 3 no-shows or sick call-ins. All the merch from the night before that was supposed to be put away was still not done. So it was only me and my boss, with extra work from the night before. Luckily it wasn't too busy, but my boss decides that she'll sit on register, with no customers, while I put away all the merch from the night before. Fine. She has seniority and I'd rather be doing something than nothing. I finish 1 basket and as I'm coming back for the other 9 she has the gall to say, "You're not done yet. Could you hurry it up? You are welcome to grab a basket." Freaking see. Dollarama seems like the worst place in Canada to work. I was a manager of a CVS and during an extremely busy time of the day I open up the photo lab register to help the regular cashiers keep the lines down. I announced that I am open and the nearest customer happily took her merkind eyes to my register. Then the second nearest customer started loudly saying that she was first and it's her turn. I said she will be the next after I take care of this customer. When it was her turn she started going off on me that it was rude of me to not help her. Blah blah blah. I ignored her as much as possible. She kept going on and on until I said, "Lady, I opened this register as a favor so the wait time would be shorter. If you would rather wait in one of the regular register lines you are more than welcome." She was shocked that I talked back to her. She didn't realize that I was the manager. She found one of the employees who was stocking a shelf in the candy aisle and demanded that she speak to a manager. That employee called for a manager over the intercom and I happily walked over to candy aisle to see her waiting for a manager. With a big smile on my face I let her know I was the manager on duty. She walked out of the store without saying a word. I was off work like an hour later, but apparently she sent her husband in looking for me, but I was at home by then. They complained to corporate. I was told to not take my job so personally and that was it. This woman was acting like a rude bee. She was a regular, not in a "hey, how are the kids" way, but in a "crap here comes this lady and her loud kids again" way. She was normally tolerable. This day, she decided to have an attitude while I was still with the customer ahead of her, by slamming her few items down on the belt and saying because her time is obviously more precious than ours. I finish with my customer and she starts talking about sales and how prices were wrong. Having a tone. I refused change any prices. More attitude and she said she should call the manager, but was in a hurry so she pulled her $20 bill out of her bra and unfolded it and held it out for me to take. I just looked at her, disgusted. "I can't take that." "Why not?" Immediate rage. "I can't take money from your underwear." "What? It's my bra." "That's your underwear." "I'm not like a dirty person. I don't know that." Her eyes lit up. "Where is your manager? Where is mansole manager? Man arsehole manager. Doesn't work at night anymore and he's not my manager. I'm his supervisor. I'll take your money right now, but next time I won't take anything from your underwear." I took it by pinching the corner of it, tossing it under my drawer, dramatically, as not to mix it with my clean money, gave her her change and told her to have a nice day. She was livid even. I was so sick of that job at that point, I ended up quitting a few months later. I had a reputation as an angel. I was pretty much a pushover with customers. That day I was just done. So that's the worst I ever treated a customer. LOL. Oh man, the sweaty bra money is the worst. I had a woman legit pull her tit out of her bra looking for lost bra money. Just faulty out in the middle of the store. I only ever lost it on a customer once. When I was working at an office supply store. Customer was one of those self-important money pusher types. Came in during the lunch rush on a day when we were short-handed. He wanted to buy our phone. I normally would have helped him, but I was stuck on register. I did everything I could to help this guy anyway. When I was finally able to focus on him exclusively, he launched into a lecture along the lines of how he specifically was the most important person in the store, and I lost it. I barely remember what I said to guy. I know I tried to walk away first, but he pushed it. I ended up tearing into him so badly he basically ran from the store, and the assistant manager on duty was too stunned to do anything about the incident. I hated that job. Quit, not long after. Not a cashier exactly, but a bartender. There was a hotel next to the restaurant bar I worked at, which often would bring in crews of construction workers and other types of traveling workers. Most behaved themselves just fine. And some of my favorite regulars were seasonal workers who stayed next door. There were crass, classless individuals from time to time, though. Usually a quick comment that they're in a restaurant, not a sports bar, was enough to calm them down. But not this group. They came in on a Friday, were loud, rude and vulgar, making passes at waitresses and irritating other guests. I ended my shift while they were still there, and when I arrived the next day, was informed that they followed a waitress out to her car and wouldn't let her leave. They blocked her from getting into her car, and when she finally was able to get past them, they stood in front of her car and jeered, making rude gestures and remarks. Eventually the kitchen guys came out, and they left. They showed back up the next night, and I was instructed to deal with them if they came back after the GM went home, which of course they did. So we started with the usual deal. You are not welcome back due to your behavior. Please leave, etc. The foreman, or whatever he was, insisted it was all a joke, and that I needed to get a sense of humor. His exact words were, "You need to go to the dollar store and buy a sense of humor," whatever that means. So this goes on for a bit. He actually had the gall to ask for a refund for the previous night. I declined, and as this conversation continued, I began to lose my patience. The guy got more belligerent and insulting, and repeated his weird dollar store comment multiple times. I finally lost my patience roughly the 400th time he said this, and said, "The dollar store? Huh, is that where you get your dental work done? You have 10 seconds to get the heck out of this bar before I call the cops." I could tell this was a sore spot for him, as he looks like he chewed rocks every day for breakfast. He deflated quickly, as several patrons and most of the wait staff witnessing this laughed at him openly. He left quietly and did not come back. Clearly he thought the dollar store comment was a clever thing to keep bringing up. It only got clever the one time you threw it back at him. Kinda shows how cheap his humor is, literally. Worked at a sandwich shop. I get assigned to train a new girl, who is shadowing me at my register. A big pissy woman comes in with 2 other gentlemen and she orders a croissant sandwich with no tomatoes, sub avocado. I proceed to try and explain to her that I can't do that, as tomatoes and avocado are not equivalent. I don't even get that far cause she interrupts me, starts to mock the way I was talking to her, tells me that they've done it for her before. I stand my ground and tell her regardless if someone else had done it before, I wasn't going to, because that's now how it works. I was trying to make a point to my trainee. She gets so angry, says some crap to me, then looks at my trainee and says don't learn from her, Cynthia, she's a bad one. She then struggles to pay with her card cause she's broke apparently, and gives me lip when I tell her card was declined. When she walks away, the 2 gentlemen she's with come up to me and apologize for her. I was so checked out. I just said you're the one who has to deal with her every day, not me. Savag Jahaha. I had already put my 2 weeks in at the gas station when a woman comes with a van and tries to pump gas with the vehicle running. I tell her over the intercom to shut the engine off. She started to argue with me over the intercom and I just turned it off to deal with the small lineup inside. She comes inside and starts arguing with me. I calmly told her the rules are for safety, and if she wants to fuel while the engine is on, she can try another gas station. She starts screaming, telling me I'm just being a bee to ruin her day. I just snapped in front of everybody and yelled back, "Oh really? Am I in your place of business harassing you for following the rules so people don't freaking explode?" To which all of the other customers laughed. She kept arguing back, so I said fine, go fill your tank. As soon as she was outside, I locked the doors. I told the customers they could leave if they wished by pushing the black handle. Nobody did until the irate customer sped off. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.